Toronto Raptors get sweet revenge on the Denver Nuggets, 125-110. This is Raptors Today. I'm Akil Augustine, joined by Sherman Hamilton and the principal, Paul Jones. We're going to talk about that epic first quarter later in the show. Sav's going to lead us into that. But right now, let's talk about the player of the game, a man that walked into the building on fire, Fred VanVleet. Sherman, I'll start with you. Your impressions of the form that Fred's finding here at the end of the season, how important his role was, giving this Raptors team a foot up in this matchup against an MVP caliber player in Jokić.
First of all, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Fred is, that guy. And I feel like when Fred has control of a game, he has complete control of a game. And it was refreshing to see him just kind of do it offensively himself at times in that first quarter. He was on fire from the three-point line, hit 4 threes in that first quarter. And, when he's orchestrating offense, he becomes such a handful because defenses want to play him. And if you play him too much, he's going to find teammates. If you don't play the teammates, he's going to put the ball in the bucket. You look at his numbers from last night. It was just 14 points in that first quarter just set the tone for Fred. And I have a lot of confidence in Fred's ability to recognize, read, and react and make the right play at the right time. And that, to me, with the way that the Raptors have kind of shifted the way they're playing, puts the ball in Fred's hands more, which I felt is a necessity for this team to be good. And we're seeing it because he makes the right decisions and he can get everybody involved. And you look at the numbers across the board, except for Pascal in that starting unit. Scotty's getting his numbers. OG's getting his numbers. Jakob's getting his numbers. Guys are getting enough to be successful. So Fred, to me, just did a masterful job of running the show.
To Sherm's point about his decision-making, when you're that size and you have been playing at that size your whole life, it seems like, you look for – there are things that you see or that are important to you that kind of supersede that of a guy who's athletic and 6'8". There are things he doesn't worry about. You need to be concerned about those things. And I thought what was interesting, I had a chuckle. We were at Fred's first training camp in Vancouver, and Nick always has these little – like station work and one-on-one games at every basket. Winners go this way, losers go that way, and then they have a one-on-one champion at the end. And I'm watching Fred go against I'm watching him go against the best and the tallest guys, and he's finding a way to score. And I look at him when he goes in the lane with the right hand, right foot finish, the left hand, left foot finish. And to Sherm's point about making the right decision, and that is infectious, and it causes everybody else to say, hold on a second here, let's do this thing right. The other part of that for me is Fred's healthy right now. Last year at this point in the year, he'd played through some stuff. It was like he was wearing down. It was taking him a long time to get ready, and he was playing through injuries and nicks and bumps. I'm not saying he's not doing that now, but he just looks healthier. It looks like they've managed it a bit better, or he's managed it a bit better. And he's got some pop in his game right now.
If you want to see Fred at work, just Google Fred playing against college players. They're doing this one-on-one bump game, King of the Court. Oh. And Fred is just wearing people out.
He's killing them, man.
Just take a look at it, and just Google it and take a look. I think it's on YouTube, but it's amazing that it's precision. He's just matriculating into spots and wearing people out.
The year they won the championship, in training camp, in the one-on-one contest, he's against Kawhi, one of the greatest defenders. And Fred's wearing out the clutch, stop, go, left, right, wrong finish, spin off glass. And you're like, how does he get that down? And some people will go, that's a lucky shot. No, it's not a lucky shot. You watch the man. He does that all the time.
The 3-shot tricks you because you don't think he's got all that in the bag, but when it comes down to it, Fred's got a lot more juice than people think.
Duffel's deep, man.
Now let's talk about an epic quarter, and everyone's going to talk about the offense in the first quarter, but that final frame, the fourth quarter, holding a team like the Nuggets under 20 points in a frame, and we talked about it before this game. What would the Raptors do? Would they stick with their usual program of defensive, had OG on Jokić? Jonesy, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on how they were able to execute such an efficient quarter, especially with the Nuggets kind of building momentum. It looked like things were getting away from the Raptors there for a stretch.
First of all, the coincidental irony of the 49-point first quarter, most in Raptors franchise history, I remembered the 48. I was there. It was that night in New Jersey when they played in the Meadowlands against the Nets. And the funny thing was, so was Popeye Jones, who was on the bench for Denver. He played in that game. To your point about the fourth quarter, Akil, I thought Denver expended a lot of energy coming back from 24 down, and I thought the Raptors stuck with the game plan. They made it tough for Jokić. He was very efficient still, scored, but it was him, and he wasn't getting a lot of teammates involved the way the Raptors were. He posted, and if you double him close to the basket, he's going to find somebody for a layup or a dunk. A lot of times a dump down to Aaron Gordon, but the Raptors were off that, and the ball went out. It went, instead of going closer to the basket, it was kicked out, and the defense, like that, precious there, the defense, the individual guard your yard, take your man, take that challenge on. I thought the Raptors did a really, really good job of that in the fourth quarter. And then when you're scoring, it amplifies it even more. The NBA's kind of devalued defense in a sense. And it used to be, I'm not scoring while you're not scoring. Now it's like, well, you can score, but I'm going to keep scoring too. And I thought combined with the defense they played, their offense, and again with Fred coming back in the game, really helped them take off.
Well, we've seen this on the Raptors side to the point of, expending energy to come back.
Yes.
That third quarter was big. There was a 28-10 run for the Nuggets. They really condensed that lead. They scored 36 points in the quarter. And you could see that the tank was pretty close to being on empty in the fourth quarter after about that 6-minute mark because they fought uphill the whole third quarter. And to the Raptors' credit, they bent, but they didn't break. And this, to me, was a shift for the Raptors because we've seen fourth quarters where execution has cost them late in games. And I thought that they executed extremely well in the fourth quarter. As Jonesy said, they scored, but defensively, when you're able to lock down like that, now Denver shot 55% for the game.
Yeah.
And what's lost in the mix is in the first quarter, the Raptors shot over 70%. Denver shot 57% in the first quarter. So they were getting their offense. They were scoring. Yeah. And I thought that the field goal percentage didn't represent what the Raptors were able to do in the fourth quarter. And it's the moments, you might not be good through three quarters defensively, but you get those stops when it matters, that field goal percentage won't have as much impact.
The Raptors bookended their 33rd win of the season with a strong quarter in the first and the fourth. We just talked about the fourth. Let's talk about the first with Savannah Hamilton.
Thanks, Akil. Exciting times here in Scotiabank Arena as the Raptors have made franchise history, outscoring their previous 48 points by scoring 49 points in the first quarter. That's the most in any quarter that the record stands right now. But you got to give credit to Fred VanVleet because he really, truly led the way and set the tone early. The Raptors are coming off a 3-game losing streak, but so are the Denver Nuggets. So they were coming out hungry, looking for a bounce-back game, and they did not get it in Toronto. Now, something that OG Anunoby said to me that really stood out was the fact that he wasn't necessarily as scared of Jokić scoring as he was of his facilitating and playmaking. And we did see that down the stretch, but that wasn't enough because the Raptors still got the job done on him, although it was a different game than what we saw last week when the Raptors were in Denver. So give them a lot of credit because they really, truly set that tone in the first quarter and came out very strong. Back to you, Akil.
All right, continue to talk about that first quarter. Sherman, I'll start with you in the matchup, of course, giving all the flowers to OG Anunoby, but how were the Raptors able to exploit a player who's, set up for his third MVP at this point now?
Well, I think, Jokić got numbers. He got numbers in the game, and that's what great players are going to do. Your job is to make it difficult, disruptive, physical. Just don't let them have a cakewalk to their points in their numbers. And what OG does well, and he does it to a lot of players, especially bigger players, is he gets under their center of gravity.
Yes.
And he's so physically strong that in a natural back-down situation for Jokić, he's constantly gaining ground when he's crab dribbling. He wasn't doing that with OG. OG's under him and moving him, and it's forcing him, and it's such a subtle thing to go offline. Just a few degrees, if we want to call it that. And that changes his effectiveness. The other thing is I thought, again, the Raptors reacted well. OG defensively as the principal defender did a great job doing his job, and now the help and the reaction around him can fill in the gaps. And I thought they did that as well. And Jakob being off the ball and coming with length is a different animal. He gets wide, he gets long, he's defending passing lanes, which you have to with Jokić. And I thought that the collective effort on Jokić based on OG's ability to individually stay on task was phenomenal.
He had 7 assists, Jokić, but he also had 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
And OG has some things when he plays defensively against a guy like Jokić or a bigger guy. He's almost as strong, if not as strong. He's quicker. Sherm talks about the low center of gravity. So he denies Jokić the ball. In the 2 games against Toronto, Jokić took a total of 21 shots. And that's partly Jokić, because he's not the kind that's going to force. He'll give it up. When he wants a shot, he'll go into the post. And as I said, when the Raptors doubled below the free throw line, he's lobbing it up for Aaron Gordon for dunks. He's dumping it down to, Jeff Green or whoever's cutting under the basket. So that was tough. The Raptors, when they stayed home on him, and when he's, as Sherm talks about, when he's crab dribbling and he's backing down, he's so focused on the defender. A lot of times, I'm seeing guys come from the backside and knock that ball away, or he thinks he's going to spin and turn, and there's a defender right there. So just the primary engagement by OG at the point of attack is terrific. And then at the other end, I just thought the Raptors put him in ball screens. It was almost 5-on-4 at times. And, he's a great rebounder when he's under the basket and the ball comes to him, Jokić. He's not chasing it down.
No.
He's not getting that rebound that he's got to run it down.
He's a positional rebounder.
He's well put. And I thought at times some of the offensive rebounds, the Raptors were just more athletic and quicker to the ball. I mean, there was one sequence in the fourth quarter where the Raptors got 4 shots on one trip and couldn't score, and they were good shots. And every one of those offensive rebounds, they ran down before Jokić could get there.
And that speaks to another way. This is not the most mobile transitional big man.
First quarter, right?
And the Raptors, they had, 25 points in transition?
Yeah.
So they made it a track meet at times, and that eliminates Jokic's ability to slow it down and methodically break you down with his skill set. So they hit him in a few different ways.
All right, of all the stats that came out of last night, one of our producers, Nikhil, his favorite stat actually has to do with the three-point line, taking a look at the Raptors' ability to finally knock down the three, doubling up on attempts and percentage, but at the same time, still winning the battle on the glass with second chance points. And how important is that for a team, Sherman, that struggled with the three-point line, knowing that you can still continue to be aggressive because, guess what? The big guys that got your back on the boards.
Yeah, with the way the game started, they didn't struggle from the three-point line, right? And it becomes, when both teams are shooting a high field goal percentage, it doesn't turn into a rebounding game very much because people are making shots. Yeah. But the ones that were missed, I thought the Raptors did a great job of attacking the glass and taking advantage of a team that, besides Jokić, they really don't have a lot of size. And the Raptors are very active in terms of second chance points. So, you look at a team and you try to figure out how to attack. And one of the things the Raptors did very well against Denver was put a lot of pressure on their glass. It does a couple things. It prevents them from transition breaking on you. And the other thing is it creates second chance opportunities. And I thought the Raptors did a very good job of constantly putting pressure on them and making sure defensively they had to complete their possession before they thought about going down there offensively and trying to make a play on that end of the floor. And then when you turn a team over and you're scoring off those turnovers, you're planting another seed in their mind about how they got to be careful when the Raptors attack them.
I thought because of the way the Raptors ran their offense against Denver and Jokić in particular, there were a lot of open shots like that. That shot by Fred, there he is, Jokić late on the closeout. That's a catch and shoot for a guy like OG. That's easy. So Toronto did a good job of getting into the paint because they know once they get in there, if there's any kind of resistance coming, and it'll come late there, they can pitch it out. The whole defense is collapsed. I saw an interesting stat the other day where Jokić has 47 kickballs.
Yes.
47.
That was on Reddit. I saw that.
I don't remember where I saw it, but I might have been Zach Lowe from ESPN. But 47 kickballs. The next closest guy has 17. So that tells me a little bit about his activity, and good for him. stop it whatever way you can. But if you're putting him in ball screens and you're getting that mid-range stuff, or you can probe deeper into the lane before he finally attacks you, then everybody's compromised. Because they're all helping him out. And to be honest, one of the guys that helped him out big last year, or in years past, Jeremy Grant, is not there. Neither is Plumlee. Those are guys that helped him out. So it's a different dynamic. And the Raptors ran their offense in such a way that when they pitched it out and moved it, what's your line? You can't catch up to the ball, can't outrun the ball.
Can't outrun the pass.
Guys are getting good looks.
I can't imagine you're in great defensive position, too, if you're in position to kick the ball a lot of the times, right? So the one works against the other. Still, right now, we got to check in with the head coach of the Toronto Raptors. That's Nick Nurse. Let's hear what he had to say.
Obviously, the fast start was huge, but the late game composure seemed to be a pretty good sign by your guys.
Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of really good things. I think that certainly a focused start. I thought we were very disruptive most of the game, right? I think when you're disruptive, you're going to have a few mistakes here and there, but I thought we bothered them enough where they didn't play great rhythm on offense. I thought we did as well, and I think the stretch where where they closed it back down was literally, I still thought we were running really good stuff, and we just went a little chilly on the offensive end there for about a 5-6 minute stretch. But as you mentioned, made some really good decisions at the end, and some good timely baskets, back cut baskets, a couple finishes at the rim. Obviously made a couple threes as well. So good game.
I think Fred had two big plays. He had a steal and a feed to Scotty for an and one.
That's a huge one.
And then a bucket when he first came back in the game in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
That's the kind of play you need from him.
The big one was, they were both big, but the steal was huge because that was kind of like, where we hadn't made a basket for maybe 4 or 5 trips and got ourselves a kind of a run out there. And I thought Gary made a big play on his run out as well. That was good. Freddie called an incredible game tonight too. I know his numbers are awesome, and he really was assertive and stuff, but he really had us incredibly organized and found a bunch of little wrinkles. We'd run one set, and he'd run it maybe 3 times in a row, and he'd find something different all 3 times when he saw the first one, how they were covering it, and he had a great floor game from a leadership standpoint tonight.
Time to go to league-wide talk around the NBA. Recently, Steph Curry was asked, are the Warriors and Grizzlies rivals? He says no. I think you'll get a different answer if you ask Dylan Brooks, maybe Draymond Green. So I want to know right now, starting with you, Sherm, what's the biggest rivalry in the NBA right now?
Well, Draymond Green made it clear that you can't have a rivalry when you haven't won.
Yeah.
So, that's disrespectful, but very factual.
Can't have a rivalry or a dynasty.
100%. But I think it's the Grizzlies against the world.
Okay.
Memphis is throwing it out there, and they just said, we don't care what you do, who you are, we're the best.
I'm
some
good in the
DJ
West,
Khaled,
right?
we the best. You know what I mean?
I'm good in the West.
And I
right?
like the moxie. I love that energy. I love the youthfulness. I love the look at me, I said it, and I'm going to back it up mentality. But you got to back it up. And obviously there's some issues right now in terms of John Morant, but the Grizzlies are playing pretty solid without him. So I just think the Grizzlies put it out there, and they're ready to fight anybody, and it's a beautiful thing. You just got to back it up now.
I enjoy the chatter between Memphis and Golden State. I don't think it's a real rivalry in that sense. And on a personal standpoint, I kind of like the Luka and Devin Booker thing, the way that's been going back and forth, going back to Game 7 of the conference finals.
Book is another one. He goes at everything.
Oh yeah, Book's not afraid.
Yeah.
Book's not about the back down. So from a team standpoint, Memphis and Golden State, that's fun to watch, especially with 2 characters, one like Draymond Green and one like Dylan Brooks, and then Luka and Booker. Like the other day when Booker was pointing to the spot, everybody was debating what he was saying. Some people said he was telling the ref that it was a charge and the guy was outside the circle and Luka pushed off. Other people were saying he said to Luka, look, you were right there and you missed a game-winning shot. So I kind of like that, and it'd be nice to see them match up in the in the Western playoffs too.
And I thought the Raptors and Philly would have had a nice little rivalry going, especially if Kawhi had stayed.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been interesting to see how that back and forth would have been for the next season.
I like the Raptors fans versus Embiid. I think that's a good one,
Oh,
too.
yeah.
But right now, we got to get back to the men of the match from our last matchup, and that would be OG Anunoby and Fred VanVleet.
OG, what's it like fighting a guy like Jokić for 40 minutes a night?
Oh, it's definitely tough. You know, it's tough.
Because he does so many different things, like he was on the post tonight a lot more than he was tonight in Denver. Like,
Yeah, he posted a lot more tonight. He's very versatile. You can play either or. He handles, he does everything. So you have to have your head on the swivel at all times and communicate and just be on your toes, be ready.
In terms of how much it takes out of you in the moment, is it more exhausting, taking that sort of beating sometimes in the post, or running around screens chasing somebody? What's more tiring?
Today was the post. He was posting up a lot. Yeah, he's strong.
Do you feel like you have an optimal position defensively? I mean, you've guarded a lot of different types of players recently.
I don't know.
Where do you feel more comfortable, or where do you feel more?
Probably everywhere, but probably perimeter. Yeah, the wing.
Do you go into a game like tonight with a number in mind, like what you want to try to hold a guy like Jokić to?
No, because I never have a goal in mind for a number of points to hold someone to. Usually it's as least as possible, but there's no specific number. Just try to make it difficult. Try to make them have a inefficient night. Mainly limit their attempts. So there's never any goal.
how's the baby?
Good. It's like a different person, you know. I've been gone for 2 weeks, so it was good to get home, spend a couple days with the family, have a day off. It was good. Needed it.
What got into you guys in the first quarter there?
Made some shots. I thought our pace was good. I thought we got some stops. We played them pretty well there too. So we felt good about that. And, obviously the end of the game went away, on the road. But, yeah, got out to a good start. It definitely put us in, good position. And that's a hard team to put away. So we were fighting and they made runs. But, made enough plays to get out of there with a win.
How quickly do you know that you're feeling it?
I can't hear you, bro.
How quickly do you know you're feeling it on a night like tonight?
It was just a good day. You sometimes you just have a rhythm and a energy and a flow, and my body felt good and it wasn't really touching the rim tonight. So, you just try to find looks and try to keep getting open, and if, I had to look down, make sure my feet was set, and if I saw the rim, I was, being aggressive, and when they were up, I made the right play, try to keep the ball moving, and we need these wins. So whatever that means for our team, some nights it'll be like this, and other nights, I'll take 9 shots, and hopefully we can, leave out with a win.
All right, up next for the Toronto Raptors, a date with the Oklahoma City Thunder, winners of 6 of their last 7, and surprise, surprise, they are in the playoff picture, not just the play-in, battling their way, hopefully, to maintain that position. Let's talk about it. This Thunder team, surprising a lot of people, especially with their leading scorer, Shea, proving to be an MVP caliber player. What can we expect from this team? How do you shut this group down? Sherman, we'll start with you.
Well, I mean, first of all, they're a young team. You look at where they are in the Western Conference. It's a confident, growing team. Shea has emerged as that guy who is seemingly going to be a perennial all-star, kind of at some point creep into the MVP conversation, as you said. But you have that leadership in terms of the confidence, that guy who can make it happen, the player that teams have to respond to and have to send that second body. And they have a toughness and a grit about them. They're young. I don't know how you keep the group together necessarily in a long-term way, but I just think that they've got the makings of a group that's going to be very tough to deal with because of the leadership of Shea, the skill set of Shea. And also, when you have young players who aren't afraid, Lou Dort's not afraid. Josh Giddey, who has the nice flowing hair, he's not afraid of anybody. These guys go out there and they're not afraid. With that type of mentality, that type of skill set.
Williams, too.
Jalen.
100%. All these guys aren't afraid. They're young, hungry guys. I think it's a nice young team that's coming up in the NBA.
Our colleague Jack Armstrong often refers to Pat Riley's Pat Riley's concept of the innocent climb. Like they don't know, and they're all just balling together, and hey, let's just get better. There's no pressure, and that's where they are right now. And I'll say this, it's nice to see this from Oklahoma City, and not another year after the All-Star break where they shut people down, they go into the tank and try to get a draft pick. I mean, Sam Presti already has
about 1 million.
Yeah, Adam Silver's going to go to the podium and say, Oklahoma City is on the clock. We'll see you guys in an hour.
Yeah.
Right? But I look at Shea's game, and I remember Rex Kalamian, former Raptor coach, when he left Toronto and went to the Clippers, and Shea was drafted there as a rookie. After 1 month working with him, I was talking to Rex. He said, this kid is going to be an all-star. And they could see that potential in him right away. And you look at his game, the way it's evolving. You don't speed him up. He's got all the tools. He's got the handle. He's got the mid-range. He's tough, even though he's got a wiry frame. He's tough going to the basket and can finish. And he's interested in defending. Like, he'll sit in his chair and try and stop you, too.
All right, Thursday night, 2 Canadians in the building. Not just Shea. Lou Dort, one of the best defenders this league has to offer, is in the house. We just watched Jamal Murray play through injury, wanted to play for the first time in a long time in front of his fellow Canadians. How does this help or hinder these Canadian players knowing that this is their one or very few opportunities to play against their fellow Canadian fans?
I think it's great. And for a lot of those kids, I mean, Jamal's Kitchener, but I look at on that screen, R.J. Barrett, Dylan Brooks, Kelly Olynyk, direct ties to Toronto. So when they were kids, they were coming to games, they were watching. It's special. And in another sport, they used to talk about it with the Toronto Maple Leafs all the time. Saturday night, a kid from Toronto or the Toronto area comes back to play against the Leafs, and he's on fire because he's gassed up to play against that team that he's watched on TV the whole time. I think there's something to that. A lot of the Canadian kids come into Scotiabank Arena and play really well against Toronto. They got all their fans there. I said to Jamal Murray last night, how many tickets? You got a whole section? He goes, yeah, about that. And so it's special for them. And unfortunately for Jamal, he didn't have a great game. It was his first one since, 2018?
19, yeah.
2018 or 19. So, but I think just for those kids, it's special to come and play in that arena.
Yeah, there's a lot of hoopla around coming back home, even prior to the game with the amount of people they probably want to see and come in contact with and spend a little time with. So, I mean, the focus can be a bit, off, but there's no question. They want to perform well at home. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But I think the further along in their careers that they go is the better the performances will get. You know what I mean? And that stuff kind of falls to the wayside. They're going to another arena and they're going to play.
All right, a lot of Canadian content on the court. 7:30 Thursday night. The Sportsnet family of networks will have you on TV and radio. 7:30 tip. Raptors Thunder. That does it for us. We'll see you Friday.